Anyway, what was I talking about? Just got some gas. I'm gonna eat some lunch. I was talking about some shit. I don't know. I think I was talking about real estate. Now it's not all it's cracked up to be. But anyway, yeah, I'm on the way to that house again. I don't know how to get this fucking camera lined up here properly. How's that? That's not good. That's not good at all. It won't sit here, right? Will it? Hey, that's not too bad, huh? All right. So yeah, just eating lunch, talking shit. Yeah. I'm just having a tell time. My 1031 is pretty much fucked. It might still work. There's still a small chance. One of them, you know, these fucking people lie to you through their teeth. I'm not making any sense right now. Random thoughts. Okay. In addition to the things I talked about in the last video, my attempt at 1031 into commercial has hit a hell of a snag. Pretty much a fatal snag. I'm past the deadline to designate properties, so there's only 3 properties I can possibly buy. One of them already under contract, already gone. The other one agreed with me on a price. I fucking got back to them a week later, and they fucking said someone came back with a higher price, they're gone. The third property, which actually was my first choice, I feel has been lying to me the whole time. They were telling me everything's fine, the tenant's gonna renew, and then the tenant didn't renew. So now I'm waiting for them to try to do a new lease with the tenant. And it's like, if they get a brand new lease with the tenant, they're gonna come back and ask for more money, obviously. My fucking green as shit real estate agent still is under the illusion that they're just gonna agree to the same deal, even with a brand new lease. I don't see how. Because I was getting a premium of like an entire point on the cap rate. Researching other Anytime Fitnesses, it's an Anytime Fitness, I was getting like a point better cap rate. The idea the whole time was that the reason I was getting that because it was like the lease was over and they were into their options, but they were going to exercise their option. They were still going to be on the lease, and I was going to, you know, buy the property. Was then still on a 5-year option. I get this higher cap rate because they're so late into the lease. But they didn't renew. So I don't really know what's going on. I'm in the dark. They either didn't renew because they're leaving, which means this deal's totally dead. Or, as my realtor seems to think, they didn't renew because they just fucked up and missed the deadline. And so now, the seller's renegotiating a brand new lease now. But the question on my mind is, if he's selling to me at this cap rate, why does he even care about doing a new lease? I mean, I guess technically he needs to, but with them missing the deadline to renew, he's basically the one saying, no, now you can't renew. We're renegotiating. Then he could still just be like, yeah, you missed the deadline, so what? I'll still let you renew. It's not like they can't. It's just now the landlord has the option of rejecting. So me just thinking logically and putting myself in the shoes of the seller, I feel like if he now negotiates a brand new lease and he now tells them, like, you missed this favorable option term, because these option terms are always like really favorable to the tenant, unless something goes really wonky with the market, which then again, things kind of have gone wonky with the market, so who knows. Maybe that's why the tenant didn't renew, because that renewal was actually higher than market value in this particular case because of how the market's gone to shit. Normally it would be a sweetheart deal for the tenant, they just take it. So I don't know, a lot of shit going on, but bottom line is the deal is very much in jeopardy now. What was supposed to happen is the tenant was supposed to just renew, and then boom, deal happens. I think everybody was good with that. So now the tenant hasn't renewed. It's very possible that I just blew this 1031. Made the wrong risks. Did the wrong moves. And you know, I'm not even gonna beat up this thing moved again on me. I'm not even gonna beat myself up about it too much, because it's like shit's out of your control, you know? Like, some shit's out of your control. Every move I made, I think, was logical at the time, but they add up to potentially something not good. So, you know, just be aware of this stuff. I just feel like, for me, now that I've done it, I think maybe if you're in the right market, you make the right moves, and you factor everything in, you do this IRR calculation, you factor in everything, appreciation, depreciation, and, you know, and cash flow. I think that you can build more wealth than just putting it in the stock market. And I feel like even though you can do this with, you can take stuff out with the, you know, like, what am I getting at? I'm getting at the point that if you, at least I feel like, I like the aspect of where I'm able to draw on the income, and at the same time, the investment is turning over. Because the way it's turning over is the appreciation and whatever debt payment, you know, pay down that you're doing at the time. But that all takes care of itself, and then you're also able to get income that you live off of. And technically you could do the same thing in the stock market. Like, you could just take a certain percentage out every month and reinvest another percentage, but that just feels kind of strange to me. Like, it feels like once you put something in the stock market, you usually just keep it in there and let it, you know, reinvest. So I don't know. It's kind of like just whatever floats your boat. I feel like you put more work into real estate, you take more risk, but you actually do get a better return. But then I read this stuff about, like, how they've done studies and the stock market has a better return than real estate. That's really interesting, like how they calculated that, because I just don't really feel like that's true. So now that I think about it for a second, I think the reason that could be misleading, it could be true, but it could be misleading, is this whole notion that you cannot borrow money, or I guess you could, but, you know, not as easily and not on as favorable terms. You can't borrow money to buy stocks, whereas you can acquire real estate, you know, for a fraction of the price, and you can basically arbitrage money. You know, all the shit that they talk about, I think, has some truth to it. But the problem is that things can go wrong too. Like, you know, when interest rates were 2%, then yeah, it was like a slam dunk. You put 20% down. You know, all the factors. Rents are going up, expenses are staying relatively flat, the interest rate's super low, then yeah, all day long, put 20% down, just load up on the debt. It's you know, like Rich Dad Poor Dad said, it was good debt. But
But the thing that they don't talk about is that the market changes. Things change. There's always an up and down. It's just that we hadn't gone through an up, that kind of what we're going through now in a generation. So people forgot that, yeah, interest rates can actually suck. And expenses can be going up and rents are going down. That can happen. Just because it's not happening right now, and by right now I mean 10 years ago when it was really great to own real estate. It can happen. I think people are learning a lesson right now. I think I had enough room in my deals that I'm like fine. I'm not about to go bankrupt or something. But it just sucks to see that you're not really making a ton of money. You just hope for a better future. The shit will turn around. Rents will go back up. And the other thing is, I don't even live in Austin anymore. I live in Dallas now. So it sucks being rooted in Austin because you can't move your properties. So when some shitty thing like this happens, like with this house, I got to drive down to Austin like once a week at least, and it's usually multiple times a week. I got to make this like 2.5 hour drive just to go down and work on this house. Of course, you contract it out a lot, but then there's always little things that you're dealing with such tight margins that if you just throw your money around like it's nothing. I think that's the way a lot of people view like business, is that you just sit in an office and you just throw money at problems and it's okay because you're making money. But that isn't really going to work in tough times like this, And with a problem like this, there's certain things that it just doesn't, you can't really justify, especially me. Like, I'm basically retired. I don't have a 9-to-5 job, so I can't justify in my mind that I'm going to pay somebody like $5,000 for something that literally only takes like $1,000 in material and some of my time, and not even a lot of my time. So, and sometimes it's even more extreme than that. Like, literally, sometimes somebody's charging you like $1,000 for something, and it really is only going to cost you like $100, and it's just the fact that you have to do it. And so, when you're dealing with these tight margins and you're not really working anyway, you're going to do it. You're going to do basically the stuff you can do. The stuff that I do, stuff I contract out is stuff I can't do. Like when these people left, and they left their like every fucking thing they owned in this house. There was no way I could physically do that. I can't get rid of all that stuff. I'm one guy and I'm 48 years old, and so yeah, I had to pay thousands of dollars to have a crew come in and take all this shit to the dump. That's one example. So, but like, if you can do it, if it's something like this, like we're hoping that we can tear out. It's what is it? It's like 160 square feet of flooring, and if you've never dealt with this sort of thing, that's a very small area, Like, 160 square feet's not a lot. Like 100 square feet is 10 by 10. So you figure like 160 could be like 16 by 10. I think this is actually pretty close to that. It's like, 15.5 by 9 point something. So it's a relatively small area. It's not even an area like that's an area of a typical room. And this one area like doesn't really go around any obstacles. It doesn't go through doorways or anything. It's like a perfect rectangle. So I can replace this myself in like a couple hours and pay like $900 for the flooring itself, versus I'd have to pay some guy, I think like maybe like $3,000 or something. So you just can't justify paying the guy, even though technically you could, I guess, like the total money involved, like you could get away with it, but it's it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to do it, so you're going to do it. You're going to do it yourself. So anyway, I'm really in a situation now where I never even contemplated being in quite a situation like this. Like, it really feels like right now that I could potentially not be able to ever sell this property. That's the way it feels. I mean, I know that's probably not rational, like eventually somehow somebody will buy it, but like, I cannot get this smell out. Like, we've done so many things, we've spent so much money, and you go there and it's like, it just still smells bad, like cat piss. And you just keep trying to chase down the sources of the cat piss. I don't know. It's a pretty, you kind of just have to like take breaks from thinking about it, because when you think about it, it's pretty depressing, you know? You're talking about, in this case, it could be even worse, could be a lot more money, but in this case, you're talking about like $250,000 just tied up that you can't, that money could just like be gone. You could just be, not only that, not only like can you not realize that money, but you have to pay taxes and insurance on this thing in perpetuity, whether it's being utilized or not. So it's not really a nice thought. You really hope you'll be able to sell it, and so all you can do is do your best to try to fix the issues, and then otherwise just get it out of your head, because you'll just depress the shit out of yourself. I've done it many times, but yeah, that's what I'm on my way to go do. I'm gonna go put a second coat of primer / sealer on the concrete floor in preparation for putting new flooring back down, and then the rest of the floor that I am not replacing, I'm going to use a mop and a soft bristle broom basically to scrub it, and then wipe it with rags, and I'm just going to keep doing that until when I wipe it, it's perfectly clean. Because yeah, like these tenants are so nasty that like I've mopped these floors many times, like at least 5 times, and it's got to be more like between 5 and 10 times I've mopped these floors. And yet every time I have any kind of like little interaction with the floor, like I'll maybe see like the painter drop some paint, and I'll get like a little bit of a wet cloth to get the paint off. I will look at the wet cloth and it's like black. It's like the floor is like filthy, even though it's been mopped like 5-10 times. So I mean, it's insane. And then you smell it and it smells like cat piss. Like if you put your nose down, you're like, okay, now I know why the whole house smells like cat piss, because this floor still smells like cat piss, no matter how many times I've mopped it. So now the next step I'm taking, the only thing left to do, other than just replace the whole floor, is these sections that didn't smell as bad but still smell, is to take, you know, like a water, vinegar, and Dawn solution, mop it onto there, and then come back with a brush and just try to like work into the grooves and shit in the vinyl, and try to actually get that smell out of there. And then you just keep wiping it with the cloth until it's not black anymore. That way, you know, you won't have a situation like we have now where we mopped it 10 times, 5 times, whatever, and it's still black when you wipe it. Now we're going to confirm that it's not black. You know what I'm saying? I'm being pretty long-winded about it, but it's a nightmare. Like, really try to not allow cats, but the problem is the market's going to dictate. You know, if you try to do no pets, it's going to depend on the area. There might be areas where that's normal and you'll get away with it, but like in my area, if you do no pets, you're just not going to rent the thing. And then tenants are total scum anyway. They're gonna say they don't have pets, and then they're just gonna have pets. They sneak all kinds of shit. They sneak other tenants. Like, they sneak girlfriends that for whatever reason they don't want on the lease. Happens all the time, where like it's either like one guy or one girl applies and gets on the lease. It's probably because the other person has a freaking criminal record or something, and they couldn't get it if they put them on the lease. And it gets to the point where, like, to what extent are you gonna like basically become a police force where you're like investigating who's in there and taking action and shit, you know? It's like, there's only so much you can do. So even if you do say no cats, they're just gonna get a fucking cat anyway. So I don't know what to tell you, but there's all these people that talk all this shit about what great landlords they are and how they, are hard asses and they stop the cats and stuff. I think they're full of shit. Like, how? They're gonna be so up people's asses that they're not gonna keep any tenants. You know what I mean? Like, it's a balancing act. Like, you have to be able to keep tenants. You have to be able to get tenants. But I would say, just my own advice is, don't try to be a nice landlord that like cares about people's privacy and shit. You got to be getting into that place a couple of times a year at least to cut out the worst of it. Like this one, it was a single family, so I kind of just like, I was content that as long as they were paying the rent and there was no HOA complaints about how they maintain the yard and shit. I'm like, hey, if they're messy, that's on them. Like, I was way too naive about just how much damage a tenant could do. And then on the other side, if you're a tenant watching this for whatever reason, or even watching this for whatever reason, what the hell are you doing? Why are you watching this? But if you're a tenant watching this, just understand why there are asshole landlords. They're assholes because of something like this happened to them, Like, I used to totally try to be a cool landlord and not violate people's privacy. And I think I maybe even had, like, stupid beliefs about that. Like, a landlord checking on his property isn't really even a violation of your property, of your privacy. So I don't even know what I was thinking on that. But I definitely don't think that way anymore. Like, I need to be seeing how you're treating my property. A couple times a year, or quarterly is reasonable. I think 4 times a year. Send the handyman in there, supposedly to change the air filter, which is a good thing for him to be doing anyway. But like, the main thing is for him to be seeing what's going on in there. Because if there's a cat just pissing everywhere, or a dog shitting everywhere, or something, like, you gotta know about that fast enough for it to make a difference, because you can get into a situation like I'm in right now. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.